Oh, hello there. I'm just looking at the PS5 online and imagining what it would be like to own it. Yeah, I want a PS5, but I also want to keep my PS4 because I have so many PS4 games. What am I gonna do if I sold it? Put the games on display and use it as a conversation piece? No thanks, I want to play my games, while also having a shiny new device to play video games. If only the new consoles could play all my old games. Oh, thank God I can get rid of this piece of junk. Backwards compatibility is something we always want in gaming, but never actually use when we get it. Oh, the Wii can play GameCube games. Do I look like I care? You know, backwards compatibility is fun. Being able to play all your old stuff on all your new stuff? Sounds great! Who started backwards compatibility? What consoles have backwards compatibility? And with what systems? Well, why not talk about it? It's not like I've got anything better to do in my life. Backwards compatibility can be traced all the way back to the Atari days with the Atari 5200. The Atari 5200 had an adapter to play Atari 2600 games that only worked with certain models of the 5200. Okay, well, the 5200 may not have actually been backwards compatible with the 2600. The Atari 7800 had it built in. Yeah, I can play these decade-old Atari games on my brand new Atari that nobody gives a crap about. Just buy a Super Nintendo. You know, the Sega Genesis had backwards compatibility with Sega Master System games, with an adapter that only worked on the first model. And the SNES still sold more, even though there was no backwards compatibility with the NES on it. Well, moving on to the next generation, oh my, we have CDs now? Yeah, backwards compatibility just started to slow down during this period. I mean, why put a cartridge slot on this brand new machine that uses CDs? Nintendo never listens. You see, Nintendo thought it would be a good idea to continue using cartridges on their new system, and didn't even make it backwards compatible. Why, Nintendo? The next generation, things started to change. The PS2 decided to be backwards compatible with nearly all PS1 games, and Sega thought about making the Dreamcast backwards compatible with the giant flop that is the Sega Saturn. Yeah, that's a great idea, said nobody. Nintendo this generation actually had an excuse. They couldn't do backwards compatibility because the GameCubes use discs now. Yeah, just your regular old standard discs, nothing weird or abnormal about them. Oh yeah, an Xbox exists now. Okay, now things are heating up. The Wii can play GameCube games. All PS3s can play PS1 games, and certain versions of the Fatboy PS3, as it likes to be called, could play PS2 games. Mine is not one of them, sadly. And the Xbox 360 could play about half of all OG Xbox games, and from what I've heard, the quality of these games being played on the 360 isn't that great. Next generation. This is getting rough. Let's start with the highlights. The Wii U can play Wii games. The Xbox got updated to play some 360 games fully optimized for the console with backwards compatibility, and later they updated it to play a few OG Xbox games. But PlayStation? They really just stopped caring. You know, it's funny that one of the best-selling game consoles of all time just didn't have this nice feature, which is especially odd because that used to be a big part of their previous systems. The PS2 could play PS1 games. The PS3 was supposed to be the ultimate PlayStation that could play PS2 and PS1. But they have been making up for it because the PS5 is backwards compatible with nearly all PS4 games, and the Xbox series of consoles are backwards compatible with all Xbox One games, on top of the 360 and OG Xbox support for the console. Man, I can't believe we made it through. Oh, wait. So handhelds, right? You can play games on the go. Cool, right? Well, Nintendo has cornered the market on handhelds for a long while, and still are, and who would have thought they did something right with them? So Game Boy Color. Some consider it a revision, and some consider it a full-blown sequel to the Game Boy. This could play Game Boy Color games on top of regular Game Boy games. The Game Boy Advance could play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games on top of being able to play Game Boy Advance games. The original DS model and DS Lite could play Game Boy Advance games, but this feature was removed with the DSi and DSi XL. Now, why did they make it backwards compatible with Game Boy Advance? I think they did it just in case the DS did poorly. People could still play it as a Game Boy Advance if they didn't like playing it as a DS. And moving on to the 3DS, all 3DS models could play DS games, which is a godsend. And finally, we made it to the hybrid console. If the Switch could play Wii U games, that would be weird, so thank God it doesn't. Also, a ton of the Wii U games got ported to the Switch, so why does it even matter? Well, now that you know what systems have backwards compatibility and where it all started, now we can finally move on to my thing, which is debt. I'm going to buy 3 PS4s, even though I don't have the money for them, because I'm just feeling lucky today. Also, buying 4 would just be too much.